This one you've answered. Is it wise to take a case to trial or to settle beforehand? You kind of answered that. Here's another one I had is, so what if...
Well, actually, I have a really pat answer for that one.
Okay.
And I use it with all my clients. If you're offered something better than what you could get at trial, you need to consider the offer. And if you're offered something much better than what you could get at trial, you need to be real cognizant of that offer. You want to avoid trial if the damages could be great.
Okay. So what have you learned about people's behavior and their reactions to being arrested and prosecuted through this whole, through these thousands of cases?
Fear. Most of them have never been arrested. They get the blues and the reds like a traffic ticket, and that's already an adrenaline-laden experience. And now you're being asked to step out of the car. You probably know there's going to be those issues because you consumed alcohol, and so the fear just sets in. The handcuffs, the worry, the loss of freedom, the clink of the jail door. Those people don't go through that. They need to understand clearly, almost in every instance, that they're not going to go back to that. In felony situations, that may not be true, but in misdemeanor situations, more often than not, it is. You're not going to go back to jail, and they really have an awful time with that.
Okay. So out of the punishments...
We don't have a very nice jail.
Yeah, I'm sure. No jail is very nice at all.
They're not made to be.
Do you feel that the current DUI law and punishments are too harsh, or are they too lax, and why?
I think you would have to ask me which law. I think that it's too lax when you're allowing anyone to consume heroin and drive on our roads. If you're going to have a zero tolerance policy, please have it for heroin, LSD, and PCP. I don't want those people driving on our highways. They shouldn't even be out of their house. They shouldn't be using these drugs, but that's a different matter altogether. We have a law here that says if you're a third-time DUI, any time in your life you get another one, not just a 7-year period that most people are aware of. Anytime you get another one, it's a lifetime DUI, and you go to prison for 15 years. I think that's incredibly harsh.
Yeah.
If it's been 20 years since you suffered a third-time DUI and you get pulled over for a .08, and they're telling you you're facing 15 years, there's something unreasonable about that, given comparative sentencings to people who actually commit crimes that violate people. Now, I know they say the DUI as a whole harms 16,000 to 17,000 people every year to the point of their death. I understand that. But comparatively speaking, when we're talking about the number of murders or the number of rapes, or even the number of people who die negligently in our hospitals every year, that number, by the way, happens to be 90,000. We don't impose any punishment on those doctors criminally. We impose 10 to 12 years on average for murderers who haven't committed murder in the first degree, and rapists get out in 12 years as well. But if you ever drive drunk again, 15 years. It just doesn't make sense. And that's harsh, unrealistic, and it's also very expensive.
Yeah, okay. So what do you see as the future of DUI law in Nevada, in terms of punishments and the number?
More harsh punishments. The lobbyists are getting their way because being tough on crime is a necessary way for an assembly person or a senator to get elected. And they continue that equation. They didn't consider at all in 1997 the numbers that I'm talking about in terms of the heroin and PCP. They didn't even consider the marijuana, really. They just accepted the numbers that the prosecutors gave them, and it's been that way for 13 years.
Okay.
So the punishments have gone up, but the reasonableness has never been there. It's sad. You can try to tell an assembly person what the problem is, but unless you're a lobbyist like Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, you're not going to listen. And Mothers Against Drunk Drivers isn't going to tell you these things. And I've told Mothers Against Drunk Drivers exactly what I feel about heroin, LSD, and PCP, and they haven't taken those concerns to the legislature, so there's a bit of hypocrisy there.
Yeah.
They've got mud on their face.
Sounds like it, yeah. What's the ballpark cost to someone, for a DUI, for the defense, from start to finish?
Misdemeanor DUIs locally will be $1,500, and that includes the Department of Motor Vehicles hearing that I necessarily use so I can ask those questions I want the answers to. I don't get all my answers from the police reports. I need to understand what this police officer did and how he did it, clearly by how he was trained to do it.
Right.
And if he wasn't trained properly, then he probably didn't do it properly, and there may be a lot of defensible issues in the DUI itself.
Okay. And
If it's a felony, it runs $3,500 to start the case. That wouldn't. If we went to jury trial, it would be much more than that.
right.
And if we're dealing with felony death cases, it's much higher than that. That would depend on the individual circumstances.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. So what makes your firm and you unique in providing DUI defense amongst all others?
My experience, my intellect. I'm on the state bar faculty. I teach DUI law to prosecutors, police officers, defense attorneys. We've been invited to teach judges.
Huh.
There are 6 of us, and I'm unique in the fact that I've had more DUI marijuana death cases than any other attorney in the state of Nevada. I had an unfortunate situation in 2003 that people became very well aware of my abilities, and so they were referred to me. And those are very difficult cases to deal with because you've got a person who is not impaired, but they're being charged with causing the death of another person. I've handled all too many of those, and I will continue to do so.
Okay.
I'm a little bit different.
And then I guess lastly, is there a final personal statement you want to make to anyone watching this video that's considering hiring you? Anything you want to tell them?
Don't just watch my video. If you're looking for an attorney for DUI, make multiple calls, talk to multiple people, get multiple opinions. 5 attorneys should give you 6 opinions. Choose that person that you feel is most qualified to represent your interests and that you can communicate with, because communication is one of the biggest tools to being an effective lawyer. I wouldn't just say, pick me, unless you can compare me to others.